Hello and welcome to episode 230 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan. I am one of the co-founders here at ETR. And today we have undisputably the most famous guest in the history of the show. This is a young man who controls the stream of NFL information with an iron fist. He is a great friend to the fantasy community, which of course is the most important community. It is ESPN's Adam Schefter. Adam, how's it going today?
Adam, we love the fantasy community. We love fantasy sports. There's nobody who enjoys it more than me, and you guys do a great job at Establish the Run. So it's an honor to be with you today.
Appreciate it. Yeah, Adam is taking time out of his day, which was consisted of sweating Jordan Spieth birdies to do this podcast. So we really appreciate it. On today's show,
I can confirm that, Adam. Yeah, listen, as we're doing this Friday afternoon, Jordan Spieth is on the cut line. And if I have one wish for doing this little podcast, it would be that Jordan Spieth make a little charge up the leaderboard here. Just make the cut. We're not asking much.
That's not asking much.
No.
Yeah, we need it. We're using our one time here on Jordan Spieth making the cut. On today's show, we're going to pick Adam's brain on some big NFL questions. We're going to talk a bit about his job, his lifestyle, and take some listener questions. Before we get into that, reminder, this program is indeed brought to you by our friends at Underdog. I know Adam is on board with Underdog as well. Best way to get ready for your fantasy draft is to be in the real money best ball streets. Their puppy tournament is just $5 to get in. If you sign up for the ETR draft kit and you've never had an underdog account before, you get a $35 credit. Easy game. All right, Adam, I got to start with this bookshelf thing. And I know you're not in your home office today, but the people are killing me. They're killing me for having such a weak background. I tried to emulate your bookshelf and I just came up massively short.
Is that your 6th grade Little League trophy, Adam, or what?
Yeah, honestly, you're not far off. I think it's like 7th grade. So how'd you get your bookshelf? How do you pick what goes on it? Who made it? And most importantly, can you send this person to my house?
You know, the funny thing about it is that bookshelf was done and completed before I ever went to work for ESPN. So it was in my house. And when I got hired at ESPN, they came in and they installed a green screen that still is hanging from the wall, that you pull down this, I guess, slide, this screen, and they could put up the ESPN logo or a sky. And I'm like, I never pulled it down. Because I'm like, well, I got this bookcase in my home office, and I think that's going to look better. And we'd like you to use the green screen. I say, I'm going to go with the bookshelf for a while. The bookshelf is there. Now, since then, 1 or 2 times ESPN has sent in somebody to kind of arrange the books and get rid of the glare on certain pictures. Like every 5 years, it gets touched up. Mm-hmm. And the books that I put up there are books that I admire, authors I respect, my own books that I've written. I try to rotate the mini helmets of the Monday Night Football matchup, whatever's coming up, or teams that are in the news in the offseason. For a while, I had the Packers and Texans up in May and June. Now I've got the Raiders and Ravens up because they play the first Monday night game of the year in Vegas. So the bookcase predated me. It was done. I don't even know who did it. My wife, who's got exceptional taste and everything, but the man that she chose to marry basically designed that, put it in, and did whatever she did. And if you want those secrets as to how winning, you just call her up and tell her you want the bookcase guy that did that. Whoever did, maybe it was a woman. I don't even know.
I might take you up on that. It looks great. I'm so jealous. I'm going to work on it though. Over the next years, I'm going to have the Adam Schefter bookcase. Okay. The intersection of fantasy and real NFL. I know that you get it. I know that some beat writers get it. I'm not sure that players, coaches, front office owners, do they realize the people who care most about their sport, their league, are fantasy players, the people who care most about when Trey Lance starts, about every piece of news on Deshaun Watson, about the Rams running back, if they're going to trade for someone. That's us. That's the fantasy people. I know you get it. Do you think the league gets it? And have you seen that change over recent years?
Oh, I think the league gets it. Something just happened with Jordan Spieth because I just got a text there, all exclamation points. And it's very hard to respond to that. And here's the hard thing, right? People know that I respond right away. And so when I don't respond, like something's going on, but I'm taping an important podcast at 11:10.
Very important.
And so it's hard to be, okay, I got to text somebody. So hold on a second. I think the league totally gets it. Totally. Because you're seeing all these sponsorship deals with these right? And they create all these fantasy stats and information on their own site. And the league gets it. And I had Austin Eckler on my podcast. And so he talked about the fantasy community and how much he cares about it, and people should draft him and why they should draft him and all those things like that. And so I think certain players get it. But look, yesterday I was walking at the Northern Trust with Jordan Spieth and Patrick Cantlay and Colin Morikawa, and I got to meet them as they walked off. Now, I'm like, I'm not going to be the guy that tells Jordan, hey, I got you my survivor pool this week. I need a big week from you, even though he just eagled right now, I'm told. Okay, my sources tell me he just eagled. I didn't say anything like that to him because I think most people, most players, most fans, they don't care about that. They just don't care. And so most of the players, I think it becomes a nuisance to them, right?
Yeah.
And so they don't care, but it does drive the popularity of the sport, and it's critical to the industry. And one of the reasons that the NFL is the huge business it is because fantasy football is so great and so many people love it.
Yeah. It seems to me like what people want to hear, right? Like some of the tweets that you sent, and we'll get to these Saturday night tweets in a minute, which are killing me with their timing, but we're going to get to those in a minute. You are aware of what the fantasy people want to hear, right? Like you're kind of basing your tweets, hey, I know that this backup running back might be out, or this starting number 3 wide receiver may be out. That makes a big difference, not maybe to the team, but to fantasy players, right? It seems like
Well, listen, when we're providing injury updates, I don't play in any IDP leagues, okay? So I've never had a defensive player to know the significance and importance of that. I will admit I probably should do one just to experience it so I could pick up what's more important to people playing with defensive players. I've never done that. Mm-hmm. But look, yeah, we want to know on Sunday morning, is the running back playing? Is the wide receiver playing? If the wide receiver's not playing, who's stepping up? Same thing at running back, the tight end, the court. That drives the sport. So of course I'm paying attention to it. Of course I'm doing that, right? And I'm in tune with that. And I've noticed also, you could see the numbers and traffic on a tweet or a post. I think people care more, not only about the favorite players in their team, but on offensive players because they're on their fantasy teams.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
For sure. Of course. Let's get to your lifestyle. I mean, I asked for questions for this podcast. Everybody wanted to know about your lifestyle. They think you have this crazy lifestyle. They want to know how many phones do you use daily and how much sleep do you get during the NFL season?
The sleep thing is a little overrated. I don't sleep continuously ever. I just think I'm messed up, and it'll take years to recover if I ever do. But I sleep in spurts. Like I'll fall asleep. But last night I was exhausted. I walked to Northern Trust making calls when I get home. I'm sitting on the couch with my wife watching some TV. I'm trying to sneak in an update of the Patriots-Eagles game. And at like 9:30, I dozed off for a half hour. And I woke up at 10 and I'm up for a couple. And I fall asleep again till 3. And then I get up and I look and I posted about Jalen Hurts being in the hospital at 5 in the morning. I mean, it's like little bursts of sleep. It's never, I don't say never, but almost never. Oh, let's go to bed at 11:30 and wake up at 7. Like that doesn't happen. And maybe part of that is that I've got 5 dogs, and sometimes the dogs need to go out at night. And my wife's a type 1 diabetic. Sometimes her sugars are running low. So with the dogs, with my wife, with 2 kids, with my mind working, like, look, even when I was a single guy back in the day and a newspaper man, I'd wake up at 3:30 in the morning, wondering if there was a woman out there, if I asked her out, if she would go out with me, or I'd be wondering about a story. Like, so I've never slept well or right. Never. Yeah. And this is just a continuation of that, Adam.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that brings me to these 2 a.m. tweets because I, for one, am trying to sleep. Why are you tweeting at 2 a.m. on Saturday night the injury updates that we need? Give me like 5 hours earlier,
Well, first of all, a lot of times, when you're talking to teams, they're like, hey, just do me a favor, wait till Sunday before you say this. And so you don't want to do it any earlier than that. And so you'll wait. Yeah, okay, yeah, the running back's not going to play, but just do me a favor, wait till Sunday morning. Well, Sunday morning could be 3 a.m, right? So you don't want to put it out Saturday night and somebody's upset. And what's the difference whether it comes out Saturday night at 8 or Sunday morning at 3 a.m, right? It really doesn't matter much, does it?
No. But I'm telling you, there's a whole cottage of people who are literally staying awake in the fantasy football industry, waiting for your tweets to come at 3:00 in the morning. They're up waiting, or they're setting their alarm.
Well, they shouldn't wait up. They should go do their own thing and stay. And I don't know why they're waiting. And here's the other thing. I've never scheduled a tweet. Like, I don't even know how to do that. Mm-hmm. So if the tweets are coming at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever it is, they're coming because I'm up and I'm going through another one of my little bouts of being up at some hour I shouldn't be up. But I've never scheduled a tweet. I just don't do that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And I also am the only one that posts my tweets. Like, people wonder if you have someone post. No, that doesn't happen either.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't trust anyone to post tweets for me either. I think you got to have it for you. I've seen you looking at your phone on Sunday morning during NFL Countdown. Are you looking at me and Silva last minute live stream show on ETR? Is that what's distracting you Sunday morning on NFL Countdown?
If I'm going to admit, that I'm watching to get my last little tips from you guys and to figure out my lineups here, what I want to do and what I not want to do. Yeah, absolutely, Adam.
No, but people are texting you up to Sunday morning, right?
You know, I'm a faithful follower and subscriber and loyal reader and everything like that, right? Like, I can't say enough things about the work that you guys do.
Appreciate it. But who's texting you Sunday at like 12:30? Is this about injuries and stuff like that? Because I see you sometimes on there.
Yeah, all different times, of course. Like, sometimes something happens. And by the way, the other way it also works is this. Like, I remember last year, we're watching the Chargers Chiefs week 2, I believe it was. And all of a sudden, you do a 4-hour pregame show, 3-hour pregame show, whatever it is, doing the fancy football show on ESPN, and Justin Herbert runs on the field and Tyrod Taylor is out of the line. And my boss is like, were you aware of this? And I'm like, no. What happened? And so when something like that gets past you, you're insulted and you're worked up and like, what happened here? Now, in that particular case, the Chargers doctors punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung right before the game. And so Justin Herbert, now how would there's no way to know that, right? Yeah. That happens. I've had coaches tell me, I had a specific instance. I'm not going to bring up the coach or the player. And this is funny when this happens too. I've had a coach tell me, guy's not playing tomorrow. He's not playing. And are you okay with me? Yeah, you could say that. You could say in the morning, he's not going to play. I'm like, great. And then that coach, worked up a little bit, will call me and like, hey, the guy just worked out. I wasn't expecting that. And he felt good and he's playing now. And now the fantasy community erupts. Yeah. Oh, you said he's not playing. Well, yeah, the head coach told me he wasn't playing. Like, that's probably a pretty good, reliable source of information. And people understand that sometimes, right? Like, I mean, that happens. And so things change. And that's why it's always a little nerve-wracking to report anything and any of these guys, because, I remember one time, this was unbelievable. Will Fuller, it was a Houston Texans game. It was a Sunday night. I reported he wouldn't play.
I remember.
Other people reported he'll be active. He's playing. I think I was on an island with the fact that he's not playing. And everybody else out there was like, no, he's going to be active. He's playing. Well, I'm sick about that because I don't ever want to give anybody in the fantasy community bad advice. I want to give them the right information for them to make the right decisions all the time. And so all day long, I'm like, oh my God, I'm very anxious and very panicked. And the game starts that night and Will Fuller is active. He's active.
Active. Yeah.
Active.
Yeah.
Never stepped on the football field.
Yeah.
Never played it down. And when he was active, my heart sunk into my chest. And when the game starts, he's not out. I go, well, that's interesting. Okay. Next series, not out there. Next series, not out there. And it became apparent over time, well, he's not going to play.
Yeah.
And so I was right with a lot of panic in between.
Yeah. That whole active versus quote unquote active thing is tricky for sure. Everyone knows around the league, whatever, you're the reporter of record. You are the source for football news. How do you navigate people trying to manipulate you for their own benefit? Fake info, leaks that make a player or coach look good, etc.
Yeah. I've had people bring that up and I don't buy that. I don't believe that. And maybe I'm being naive and ignorant, but I've covered the league since 1990. It's 31 seasons. So if somebody is trying to use me, manipulate me, lie to me to further their cause or their issue, and it's obvious, why am I going to trust that person again?
Yep.
So I always say, I'm sure people have not been fully honest, but I always say that if there's something that somebody can't say, like there are a lot of teams you have relationships with. I could think of a few different ones where I'm like, oh, they just traded. I mean, and they didn't say anything. Okay, but I didn't say, hey, are you trading player X? No, we're not trading player X. And then he's traded, right? Like they're not going to lie, but sometimes they can't be forthcoming about certain things that are sensitive. I got that too. Or sometimes they know I know, and they say, can you just hold on? Like we just got to work through it. We'll keep it. But yeah, okay, no problem. Like there's a lot of ways it goes.
Sure. One that
I don't think people are lying. Or
sure.
Well, yeah, of course they're talking. Of course, everybody wants things presented a certain way with a certain. I got it, but they're not being dishonest. They're not being manipulative in an overt way. We get how this works.
Yeah, and one that comes to mind recently, people take the draft rumors or I think draft reporting too literally. Mac Jones was assumed to go to the 49ers. I don't know what happened there, but I never fully bought it. And then they end up taking Trey Lance. It seemed like for a while Mac Jones was going to be the guy. I mean, I don't know if that was a situation where they were trying to keep it under their vest or they were trying to fool people or what.
I'm going to tell you from my perspective. This is my perspective about how that works, okay? Being that I report on the trade on the Friday morning, it came down in late March, and I spoke to various people there. I'm telling you, they made that trade with the idea that they were entirely comfortable taking Mac Jones and that it would give them extra time to do additional testing, interviews, work, diligence, research on Trey Lance, Justin Fields. And they felt like they knew what they needed on Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. And they did a deep dive into these other guys. And the more it went on, the more it became out, oh boy, this Trey Lance guy. Now on Saturday afternoon before the draft, I had a long talk with two officials in the organization who would be in touch. And I hung up from that conversation that Saturday morning saying, oh boy, sense a little shift here. That Saturday afternoon. It was a 75-minute conversation. Okay. And I could tell at that point that Mac Jones no longer was not only the sure thing, but I hung up that phone and you could ask a couple of my friends. I said, if I had to bet $1 now, I would bet they're going to draft Trey Lance.
Yeah.
And so it was a process. And I can tell you that they went into that process thinking we like Mac Jones an awful lot and we're comfortable drafting him. And we're going to do this work. And as they did the work, they could not find a single teammate who didn't love playing with Trey Lance. They couldn't find anybody. They were able to do additional testing, mental testing, IQ testing, the testing the teams do on all these guys. And Trey Lance tested off the charts. Smartest guy, smartest quarterback in the draft. Like everything just kept coming back. And the more they thought about it, the more they recognized that as good as Mac Jones could be, as they thought, Trey Lance could do things, certain things that Mac Jones couldn't. And when the trade was made, there were people who said, oh, Mac Jones, Trey Lance would be the more imaginative pick and make Kyle Shanahan. And they came around to that way of thinking over time. That's what happened.
Sure. And people are allowed to change their mind. You know, I think that's one thing people miss.
And it wasn't even that they changed their mind. They made the trade with the idea, we are comfortable taking Mac Jones here. But we're going to look into all these. And as they looked into trade, they fell more and more in love with him. Yeah. It didn't mean they liked Mac Jones less. They didn't.
Yeah. Well, I think they both could end up being pretty good quarterbacks, but we'll see. Couple listener questions here. The people had some questions for you. Before we get you out of here, we'll ask a couple of them. Ryan asked about narratives, and fantasy football players have all kinds of narratives. One of them that I think you might have insight on is people like say, hey, guys who get away from Adam Gase end up playing really well in fantasy. We saw it in Miami. Are we going to see it with the Jets? Is that something, those kind of narratives, the things you pick up on, or those things that people pick up on inside the league?
Well, I mean, look, there are all sorts of narratives. I don't know that one is applicable. Can you say that that's true when Adam Gase was in Denver after he left there? Like the guys in Denver played all right for him, didn't they? Mm-hmm. They put up pretty good numbers. So it didn't work out in New York. I don't know that narrative is true, but there are definitely narratives to each guy. I mean, is it a narrative that no 2,000-yard rusher has been better the next season, and so therefore we should move Derrick Henry down on draft. Like, I love Derrick Henry; he's an unbelievable player, but I would be, I don't say apprehensive, be the wrong word, but no 2,000-yard rusher has been better, and they have a new offensive coordinator, so it's not even Arthur Smith who are calling the offense anymore. So are things going to be the exact same in Tennessee this year? I don't know. Is that now? I don't know.
Yeah. From JWP, he says, Schefter is a former Denver resident. What advice does he have for Levitan as a new Denver resident? And what does Schefter miss most about Denver?
Well, I love Denver, as I told you last week. And that city is in my soul. It always will be in my soul. I spent almost 16 years there. And when I moved back to New York, the hope was that, okay, well, maybe one day I can move back here, meet a woman, get settled down, have a family, and Denver would be unbelievable. I happened to meet a woman who was from New York, raised in New York, really never left New York. And so here I am in New York, right? That's sort of how it worked out for me. Denver is a tremendous city. My advice to you would be recognize what a special place you live in. Go to Sushi Den as often as possible. Eat as much sushi there as you can. I love that place. That's unbelievable. And just enjoy being in Colorado and know that your golf shots are going to go 20, 30 yards further. Don't think that you're some kind of muscle man or anything like that.
Don't worry. There's no worrying about that. All right. Last question we're going to do here from First Round Kicker. He says, where does getting shouted out in a rap song rank among career achievements? I actually didn't know this about you. I mean, I'm such a boomer. I didn't even know who this rapper is. But on Jack Harlow's song, Keep It Right, the lyric goes, steaming on the things you've done that they haven't ever. I play the game. You watch the game like Adam Schefter. I mean, that's pretty cool to be in a rap song. What do you think about that? And is that the number one career achievement for you?
I'll tell you one thing. When you have things happen like that are outside the box, like I've never been, forget about winning an Emmy, Adam. I've never been nominated for an Emmy, right? Like I see Bill Belichick win an Emmy and I go, oh, that's great. He's won however many Super Bowls, 7, 8, 9 Super Bowls. And he's won an Emmy, and I haven't even gotten an Emmy nomination ever. That one on the Jack Harlow song, all of a sudden, I got a text from a student, a football player at Michigan, one of the football players, said, hey, you realize you're in a Jack Harlow song? And my son was going to his senior year of college. He told me, and I was like, well, that's pretty cool. So I shot a message to Jack Harlow over Instagram, and he responded and thanked me. And I saw him. There was actually a clip of him, and someone asked him, was he complimenting me or taking a shot at me? And he was very respectful and very complimentary. He goes, no, I watch Adam Schefter, and it was very cool. So the next step would be going to a Jack Harlow concert, hearing the lyrics, while he sang. If it was just me, not a big deal. But to bring my son and my daughter, that's real street cred that I just don't have ordinarily.
Yeah, me either. All right. Really appreciate the time, Adam. I, of course, do not have alerts for anybody on my phone except for Adam Schefter. So anytime you tweet, just my phone buzzes. I'm just letting you know when you tweet, my phone buzzes all hours of the night. When you're up, I'm up for the information. Everybody I recommend do the same. Well,
thank you. We didn't miss any stories, but we did miss a Jordan Spieth eagle, or so I'm told. So that's the only thing that happened.
It's good. It's good. It's good luck. Doing the podcast is good luck. All right. Follow Adam on Twitter at Adam Schefter. Catch him on ESPN, of course, giving the most reliable and best information in the NFL. Adam, thanks for your time. For producer Luke, for Adam, I am also Adam. Good luck, everybody.